Our story begins on the planet of Teth. The Clone Rebellion managed to successfully retreat from the planet of Teth from Commander Wolf and his Imperial unit. The Clone Rebellion was already a tiny force, and they were devastated by losing nearly every clone trooper within their ranks. They would try and they would relocate to Mandalore, where traditional Vayame Hut was at, for the remaining Clone Rebellion to set up their new base of operations. Rex felt like he failed his brothers for not being able to stop the Empire from almost wiping them out. He hoped that maybe Wolf would come to his side eventually. Rex was at an all-time low regardless, and almost felt that there was no hope left to fight back against the Galactic Empire. But when all hope was lost, he got a message sent to him from an old Republic frequency who wanted to talk to him. And Rex would respond to this mysterious figure who was speaking to Rex, to which Rex would find out that this was a clone. But when he realized who he was speaking to specifically, he was confused, surprised, and skeptical after what already happened with Jesse and many more of his brothers. This clone was none other than Rex's best friend of a brother, known as Commander Cody. Rex was curious to know why Cody contacted him, and Cody explained that he left the Empire after Crosshair executed an innocent CIS holdout leader. That was the moment Cody realized that he had been making huge mistakes ever since he joined the Empire, besides his already existing regret for trying to kill Obi-Wan Kenobi. Cody promised Rex that he would do everything he could to rebuild Rex's trust and would provide information about the Empire's operations to take down the various CIS holdouts which were loosely aligned with Rex. Rex liked that this information was provided to him. Rex would contact Senator Avi Singh, who would contact the CIS holdouts so they could prepare for the Imperial invasions. The issue was that the holdouts and the Clone Rebellion didn't have enough forces to take out the Empire. They would need a bigger army. Rex would contact Bail to figure out what to do next, and Bail would suggest for them to go into hiding as there were rebel cells forming everywhere in the galaxy. So Bail needed to go secretly form a rebel alliance through these cells, and that's when the Clone Rebellion could join. But while that was happening, Cody still had access to some of the Imperial formations and the new TK Stormtroopers as well, as they were not as effective as the clones, so they would be as easy to wipe out as the droids were during the Clone Wars. With this information, the Clone Rebellion and the rebel cells would be reunited from Bail, Mon Mothma, Avi Singh, and Shuchi without Palpatine's knowledge, as Bail went out to find these cells. They knew that if they could kill Palpatine, then they could free the Empire before it was too late, and hopefully reinstate the Republic, but leave it as better than it was before the Clone Wars. But they would need a big enough army to take out the Emperor. While Bail, Mothma, Chuchi, and Avi had gone off to start building a rebellion and to find a manufacturing company that would support this new rebel alliance, the Bad Batch would go and infiltrate Mount Tantus to save Omega, but Rex insisted that he and his Clone Rebellion would go and assist in taking down Dr. Hemlock as well, and the Bad Batch agreed to this. So they set off to Mount Tantus, and they would rescue all the clones as well as Omega, and they would also manage to rescue Nala Se, who would be very crucial for Cody's plan that he was cooking up for their plan to attack Coruscant and kill Palpatine. They would successfully escape, even though unfortunately they did lose a few clones. They would escape nonetheless, and they would destroy Dr. Hemlock, the special unit of clone troopers that secretly killed off any clone troopers that tried to escape the Empire. They would also end up killing Scorch after a crazy clash between Commander Gregor and Scorch, but Gregor would come on top and the Clone Rebellion would destroy the base on Wayland / Maltantis. They would also be able to get every clone and every clone commando that still worked for the Empire by activating one of the executive orders that Nala Se gave Cody, and they would leave the planet with a bigger army than they originally had. While it wasn't much, it would consist of 30 elite clone commandos and eventually 50 clone troopers too, when they found the other clone troopers that were being phased out but were still loyal to the Empire. They now had their very own rebel cell. When the Clone Rebellion and the Bad Batch returned, Bail came back with much good news on his half, where he managed to get 50 rebel cells to join him, which brought their army up to 3,000 more troopers, and he would bring 10 newly built CR-90 corvettes from his deal with the Corellian Engineering Corporation, which would be crucial for sneaking their troops into Coruscant and taking the executive office as well as the rest of the government building on Coruscant. Avi Singh would return with at least 3 remaining CIS holdouts joining them, which would total up to 150 droids and warriors. This did make the clones feel uneasy, but they would accept them into their ranks regardless, as they needed to work together, and they needed more allies than enemies. Commander Wolf would also eventually join them after secret contacts between him and Rex, and he would bring his clone unit to Wayland to investigate the destruction of Mount Tantus as an excuse for Rex to activate one of the executive orders to get the clones onto his side, which would work with much success. Chuchi and Mothma would return with the Pantoran PDF joining them, as well as 6 other rebel cells, which would both total to 120 troopers. Bail was also able to bring an old friend to help the rebellion to assist in Palpatine's destruction. It would take a lot of convincing, but Bail would bring Master Yoda into the Alliance so he could have a second chance to beat Palpatine once and for all. The Rebel Alliance were now ready for war, and their special units and the Bad Batch, led by Yoda, would fight Palpatine in his office, and the Rebel troopers would be a great distraction for them. They then all set off to Coruscant with their small fleets and army. The fleet jumped out of hyperspace and managed to sneak into the planet of Coruscant thanks to the Coruscant fleet checking on the CR-90 corvettes, which gave the Special Forces unit time to sneak through past the fleet by stowing away on the Marauder and with a stolen IPV-2C stealth corvette, which helped them descend into the planet. The Clone Special Forces unit managed to sneak past the Imperial forces because of the clones still being a part of the Empire, which gave the clones a chance to get past the stormtroopers. Palpatine was sitting in his office and would sense Special Forces clones entering his office and wondered what they were doing here. They stated that they were here to put an end to Palpatine's reign. Palpatine laughed, as he knew these foolish clones were here to kill him now, and thought it was quite pathetic that these clones thought they could actually kill someone as powerful as him. He quickly opened up a hatch that held his extra lightsaber and tried to strike the clones, but something stopped him. No, someone stopped him. A small little green life form known as Yoda was here, and that shocked Palpatine a little bit, that he had returned to fight him, but Palpatine would take him out regardless. The only problem for Palpatine though was that as he fought Master Yoda, he would struggle to kill him because he was constantly being cut down by the clone commanders who were here, there, and everywhere due to their brilliant tactics, and Wrecker, Crosshair, and Hunter weren't much help either, as they were running rings around Palpatine, and Wrecker was basically a clone Hulk, so Palpatine would struggle to take him down too, as he had too much to focus on already. And the Rebel Alliance had managed to get into Palpatine's government building, and they started committing to hit-and-run tactics by killing off any TK stormtroopers that attacked them. And Cody, Rex, and Wolf would lead the attack and would keep calling out the executive order out to the Imperial clones, and they would keep building up their army to start taking over the building as they kept getting more clones into their ranks. And they would trap and temporarily hold the Senate hostage. While the takeover was happening, Echo, with enough time from Palpatine being distracted and the stormtroopers still trying to fight off the rebels, would manage to successfully take control of the building's communications as well as all of its other technological devices, and would release the secret security footage of Palpatine talking to Dooku and General Grievous. This footage would be released to the Galactic Senate, who are all trapped within the building with the clones and the droids and the other rebel troopers. But they would also show Palpatine attacking Yoda, which helps the Clone Rebellion as well as the Rebel Alliance show the Senate who their leader truly was. They were furious about how Palpatine betrayed them all and realized that their greed allowed this whole war to happen in the first place. And most of them would support the Rebel Alliance, but the ones who didn't would be captured. Another thing Echo did was send out executive orders throughout the galaxy to take out the stormtroopers who didn't surrender, and he would execute Order 65 to kill Palpatine, which the clone commandos pushed even harder. And he would eventually be killed by the hands of Yoda as well as his commando team without losing a single trooper, as they got to work at their best by attacking as a special unit and not like an army like they had to on Geonosis. By executing these orders throughout the galaxy, the TK army would be wiped out, with many surrendering, as a lot of the fleet would be taken over by the clones that would still be stationed throughout each part of the galaxy, and much destruction would be present all over the galaxy between the TK army as well as the various clone armies. They did it. The Rebel Alliance won the battle with minimal losses on their behalf, but with many clones and stormtroopers falling, however. Bail would be voted in to lead the Empire, now being rebirthed as the Galactic Republic, and it would be rebuilt within the 3 years of the Galactic Empire taking over the galaxy. Bail would make sure that the Galactic Empire could never be reborn, and they would continue to grow their military as well as help people across the galaxy. And many people would actually join the military and learn and fight alongside with the clone troopers by taking out various factions like the Zygerian Empire, Crimson Dawn, and the Imperial remnants that would form from what remained of the Galactic Empire. This would all take place over the next 5 years, but they would succeed in the end. The Rebel Alliance would be hailed as heroes. The droids would be reprogrammed into service droids to assist the galaxy. The CIS holdouts would rejoin the newly formed Galactic Republic that was much more effective than the original Republic. And Rex and Cody would rebuild their trust and relationship with each other and would be forever remembered as the heroes of the galaxy. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our story. Let's talk about our story, shall we? It was a very interesting story, that's for sure. Was a very different direction as to how I was originally going to go. I was originally going to have it that they escape Mount Tantus, they go into hiding for 16 years, then they join up with the Rebel Alliance that would form. But I actually just decided that they would, if they could rescue Nala Se, then they would actually know what the executive orders are, as she put the chips inside the clones. And they would just kind of be able to start creating a bit of a clone army. But I didn't want to go with that clone army direction, as that's already kind of been explored on Pentapatrol Star Wars' what if the Clone Army joined the Rebel Alliance video. So I wanted to make sure that what I was doing was an entirely different thing, entirely original, not copying him, as I have much respect for him. But otherwise, I just felt like they would be able to kind of build their own rebel cell through the various clones they'd be able to get with the executive orders. And when I was researching the Rebel Alliance, I actually found out that there were already rebel cells that had formed during the beginning of the Galactic Empire. And I felt like if they could take over the executive building on Coruscant and kind of show the Senate why they're doing this and who Palpatine really is, then most of the Senate would be behind them. They would actually stand behind them. But otherwise, hope you guys enjoyed this story. You guys are awesome, and you have been watching The Alternate Star Wars Galaxy.